What is up, party people? I am your host, Lexi Inks, and welcome to Lex Be Real, a sex and dating podcast all about the 3 R's: real, relatable relationships. What would be really fun and like sexy and cool would be if the royal we, the collective we, decided to all just like pretend that the last 5 weeks didn't happen. That would be so fun and funky fresh. No, but in all seriousness, thank you guys so much for your patience while I kind of went MIA and didn't really say anything about it. Basically, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Like nothing bad happened, like no mental health crisis or anything like that. I just was firing off on all cylinders at once on everything that I do, from content to the podcast to my freelance work as a journalist and my tech startup, and like all of these things that I'm doing at once, these crazy things that I'm trying to accomplish at one time. And I think I just went really hard in the paint and went 0 to 100, and I went way too quickly and way too hard on way too many things and was really spreading myself thin. So I needed just like a quick little break, a little blip, if you will. But I'm back. I'm so excited to be back. And yeah, we are going to be back in the swing of things. I'm back posting content again, all of my lectual education stuff on Instagram and TikTok. So follow me there. On TikTok, I am at Lexi Inks, and I am also at Lexi Inks on Instagram. Those are the 2 platforms where I am the most active aside from the podcast. And also follow the podcast on YouTube. I definitely publish each episode on YouTube, and all of them from now on are video. So that's really fun and exciting. And I definitely have some great interviews coming up as well with some really awesome people that you guys will be so excited about. But today, I am really excited to kind of get back and feel refreshed and get back in the swing of things with a fun topic, which is why so many of us put off dating. I know in so many different chapters of my life, I have been incredibly guilty of this. And when I say guilty, I don't mean it's an immoral thing. It's not a morality issue. It's not a bad thing. It's not necessarily wrong to put off or defer dating until you reach a goal, or you get healthy, get in better shape, or you get a better job with more money, or you get a new car, you move apartments, you move cities, relocate, whatever it may be. A lot of us tend to make dating less of a priority. We deprioritize dating for other goals and aspirations. And I think there are a lot of nuances to that decision and a lot of nuances to the conversation around that. I will say for me, a lot of times my choice to put off dating was definitely not so valid. I think it was a lot of internal work that I needed to do in terms of like losing weight. Like I was like, oh, I want to lose 30 more pounds and then I'll feel like I am ready to date or want to date. When in reality, for me specifically in my situation, 9 times out of 10, when I put off dating until I blank, it was usually because I felt like I wouldn't be worthy of the partner that I really wanted, the person that I would really desire, who has all the traits that I expect and desire in a partner. Like, I felt like if I didn't achieve those things or reach those milestones, or hit those goals, that I wouldn't be worthy of the person that I would want to be with for the rest of my life. Especially because I am not really a casual dater. I'm definitely more of like not a serial monogamist, because I've been single for most of my adult life, aside from like a few relationships. But essentially, yeah, I just think that it was a lot of insecurity, especially at the times that I would put off dating. And I actually wrote a personal essay about this for Refinery 29 a few years back. And then I just randomly came across it again when I was going over some of my portfolio the other day. And I was like, wait, this is such a good topic for the podcast, because I think it's so relatable. And I've been talking to several friends recently, several friends who are newly single or have been dating for a while and still trying to find a partner. And so many people relate to this, that we find so many excuses and so many reasons, sometimes valid, sometimes not so valid. Like I said, in my situation, I know that a lot of times the things that I would put in front of dating could have waited or could have been done in tandem with dating. But I think so many of us do this, whether subconsciously or consciously, purposely, intentionally. A lot of us do this. And I think there are so many different reasons. There's a whole spectrum of reasons why. I think a lot of times it can be like a protective measure. I think a lot of people feel like maybe they won't get their feelings hurt if they just better themselves as a person in XYZ way. Or if they achieve this new milestone, they'll be more attractive to a partner. They'll be able to, find a better partner, or they'll have better luck. They'll get more matches on a dating app. Like they'll have better dates. They'll, attract someone with more money, or, if they want to lose weight, they'll attract a partner who's into fitness who they wouldn't have otherwise, felt like they would have attracted. And so I feel like it's this vicious cycle that a lot of us go through of focusing so much on the ways that we want to improve ourselves. And I think it can definitely get into that dangerous, not, super dangerous in like a harm aspect, but dangerous in like a self-sabotage way and like a harming our self-esteem way, of feeling like we aren't good enough, we aren't worthy enough to, date in period a lot of times, or meet the kind of partner that we want to meet, or we aren't worthy of attention or affirmation or validation or affection from anybody that we could potentially date. So yeah, I think I have heard a lot of stories from other people, especially women. I feel like when I've come across women who have gone through this, just like I have, a lot of times it is definitely more physical things. And I think for men, especially in the current dating culture, a lot of the men that I've spoken to about this situation, theirs is more like career oriented, finance oriented. And a lot of times for women, it is like more of how we are perceived, how we appear, like whether it's like losing weight, whether it's like getting work done, whether it's like changing our hair or changing our style, or getting into like better fitness, better shape, or, whatever it may be, something about like the overall way we present ourselves. Or if they feel like, oh, I just want to be more confident as a person, I want to present myself as more of a confident person. Whereas I feel like a lot of men do this where they're like, oh, I want to make more money. Because, traditionally, in a sense, especially in heterosexual relationships, most of the time, even though it's 2026 and things have somewhat shifted, I do feel like there is still mostly a large expectation of men kind of footing the bill, at least initially, when it comes to dating. Like I said, with heterosexual relationships specifically. So I feel like there are a lot of men who, which again, this is not necessarily wrong for them to think this, like they want to wait until they kind of get their money up and like maybe get a better career or get a promotion or get a raise or something like that, before they start dating, because then they feel like, they're kind of going to upgrade their status or be able to better treat a partner and treat them to nice dates or dinners or whatever, the way they want to. But I do think there's a balance between wanting to present the best version of yourself. And this is where I've always struggled, finding a balance between presenting the best version of yourself that you can and that you feel like you want to when you're dating, versus using that as like a scapegoat and a cop out to just not date at all because you're worried about getting hurt or you're worried about getting rejected. I think the fear of rejection and fear of abandonment is so strong in so many of us because so many people deal with some sort of anxious attachment, whether it's anxious avoidant or just anxious attachment in general, like straight up anxiety about it. I think so many of us deal with that. And although attachment theory has become a lot more popular in dating, I don't think it's popular enough. I don't think it's known enough. And I think a lot of people are not super self-aware about their attachment issues, especially people who deal with anxious attachment. I know I have in the past, and I've talked about this on podcast episodes and in my content as well on Instagram and TikTok. But I used to be incredibly anxiously attached. And I think that definitely contributed a lot to my like putting off dating until I blank. And it was, again, a protective measure, an emotionally protective measure to try and make sure that I am in the best shape I can be, have the most money I can, have the nicest car, have the cutest apartment, like live in the best part of town, like my hair looks the best, like I have the best clothes, like everything in my, basically I wanted to make sure, I feel like in all of these different chapters of life where I found excuses or reasons why I shouldn't be dating at that moment, I wanted to just have all of my shit together, be the most put together, most attractive, like, all around package that I could be to put out there in the dating market. And I think no matter how successful you are, no matter how polished you are, no matter how organized you are, no matter how productive you are, no matter how healthy you are, no matter how like grown and adult you really are, none of us will have all of our shit together at all times. That's just not possible. We are all human. And so I think that's kind of like the moral of this story for me is I've realized that the more that you put off dating and you put off seeking a partner or a relationship or even just connection, like a lot of people, if you feel like you aren't ready for a life partner or you truly do have these goals and these milestones that you want to reach and achieve before you find that person that you want to spend the rest of your life with and settle down with, that's fine. But don't necessarily put off connecting with people, even if it is in a romantic way, even if it is in a sexual way. If you are fine with casual connections or letting things happen slowly and organically and seeing where things go, you can also work on your goals while you're in a relationship. And I think that's another thing too, is that a lot of people don't realize that you can better yourself as a person while you're with someone. And in fact, I would argue that you should be able to do that in a really solid, good, healthy relationship. You should be able to better yourself as a person, whether it's health goals, financial goals, emotional goals, spiritual goals, your wardrobe, you want to like get better style, or you want to like organize your house, or you want to, practice more better routines, you want to like do better at work, I don't know, be more productive in general. All of those things are possible to do in a relationship. You just have to find the right partner who's going to encourage you and challenge you and like continue helping you grow into that best person that you can be, and the best version of yourself that you can achieve and become. And I think in tandem and in turn, like you can help that person better themselves too. I think those are the best relationships where both people are really not pushing each other, but definitely encouraging each other and holding each other accountable to achieving their individual goals as well as their goals as a couple. And that also, and when I say couple, I also mean any kind of relationship, non-monogamous included. Always, you guys are always included. But yeah, I don't know, it's been on my mind a lot lately because I've been talking to a lot of people and a lot of friends, and also just a lot of, followers and other people. I've been talking about this a lot more recently because I think especially with the weirdness of the dating landscape, sociopolitically, financially, all of these things that are happening. And in the last podcast episode, especially that I talked about with Dr. Howard, what she kind of referred to as like the gender war, we're kind of seeing a lot of that divide. And so I think the dating landscape is kind of trickier to navigate than it's ever been, especially right now. So with all of that division and that kind of like animosity between the binary sexes, really, like, or between, men and women mostly, I think I think that it's so tricky to navigate already. Like, don't make it harder on yourself by pressuring yourself to reach these crazy goals. Like, unless it's something that you feel like you just want to spend a couple weeks working on in the short term, and then you'll hop back on the apps, you'll like pause your Bumble for now and then come back to it. That's one thing. But if you find yourself going months and months, years and years into these goals and these milestones and these things that you're putting pressure on yourself to achieve, and you slowly start realizing, wow, like so much time has gone by and I have closed myself off to any kind of romantic or sexual connection, most of the time, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think that that's something to check in with your therapist, with yourself, with your friends and family. Like, get honest third party feedback, I think, about this, and really be honest with yourself. Like, are you putting off dating for really, really important, valid reasons? Or are you putting off dating because you're scared to get hurt? Or you're scared to be rejected? Or you're scared that something won't work out? Or you're scared that you'll meet your person and you feel like maybe you're not emotionally ready to meet like the love of your life? You know what I mean? Or you feel like you aren't worthy. And that is definitely like a self-love thing. That's definitely a confidence, self-esteem thing that, again, in therapy is such a great way to work out. I think therapy, all different kinds of therapy that I've done, have really helped me work on that self-love and that self-confidence, and have made me honestly deprioritize dating, not because I want to achieve goals, but because I've realized that I think for the longest time I was using dating as like a way to get validation. And now I just get validation from myself. And now I'm like more into hyper independence, which sometimes is definitely my fatal flaw. So I kind of swung the opposite way. But I think a lot of people use it, yeah, as like a protective measure, especially people who have anxious attachment issues and don't realize it will use these excuses, to protect themselves. So I think if you find that you're, I'll date when I'll date when I get this, I'll date when I get a new job, I'll date when I lose 20 pounds, I'll date when I get a new car, I'll date when I get this promotion, I'll date after I'm done with school. All of these things, just make sure you're doing it for your own benefit. Don't do it for the benefit of the other person, of your potential partner, the person that you might end up with. Like, don't just think about, oh, I want to be better for them. Only do it if you're really, really trying to be better for you. And that's that. That's that on that. So yeah, I know this was a short episode today. But I don't know. I just kind of wanted to yap about this because this is a topic I could talk about for ages. But I also think it's just really relatable. I think so many of us just don't talk about it because it's almost kind of like embarrassing. I feel like a lot of us, especially some of the goals that we want to achieve, we almost feel silly for putting off dating. And I don't think it's silly, but I do think it's something worth checking in with yourself about, and checking in with the people around you and in your life and the people that you trust, like really using them as a sounding board, whether it's your therapist or your best friend. Just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons and that you're not closing yourself off from something amazing. So yeah, I will chat with you guys later. Again, I know this was like a really short, unscripted, just raw episode. You're getting the real and raw today. I literally was like, okay, I'm gonna shower, do like wash my hair today, and then like just record the podcast, because I know if I don't do it today, my ADHD will not allow me to do it at all this week. So I just wanted to chat with you guys, sit down, have a nice, real, honest conversation. And remember to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Lexi Inks. My website, if you want to see any of my other work or learn anything about what I offer, is www.lexiinks.com. And yeah, make sure to follow the podcast or subscribe on YouTube. It is at Lex Be Real Podcast. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week ahead. Mwah! Love ya. Bye.